If you're thinking about selling your property in this current market, making the decision of going the traditional route of hiring a listing agent to list your property for you or to sell your property privately is a conflict that has been coming up quite often. And in today's video, I'm going to break down what it means to sell your property privately, what that looks like, and some of the things that you can do to give yourself a chance to get as many buyers' eyeballs on your property as possible, and how to maneuver through this current market and getting your property sold in a timely fashion for the most possible money that you can, because that is also important with the current state of the market now. Thinking to some of the reasons why you may decide to sell your property privately, thinking about my own business, some of the reasons why I sell most of my properties privately and I don't bring on a listing agent is obviously the commission that comes with hiring a real estate agent in a situation where it makes sense. Like if I'm listing a property that is turnkey, possibly a commercial property, or a property that I just need to have a realtor maneuver certain things for me, I'll bring on a realtor, a real estate agent. And sometimes, depending on the area, when I work in newer areas that I'm not familiar with, sometimes I work with realtors in my business in general, not necessarily to list my property. But most of all of my properties that I sell them privately. And commission is anywhere from 5 to 6%. It can, become more than that depending on the situation. And you also can negotiate that commission to be less in some certain situations. But all in all, you still have to pay commissions when dealing with the realtor. So that's one of the main reasons that people are opting out to listing with the agent currently, because lowball offers are coming in more now. And if sellers are going to be forced to possibly lower their asking price, and then you think about adding on top of that 5 to 6% that you would have to pay your listing agent, there's a lot of money coming off the table. And right now, that is just not something that most homeowners are willing to do. Another reason why I personally like to sell my properties privately is because I have full control over the sale. Now, legally, a real estate agent does have to bring every offer to you. So, regardless of what the offer is, if someone puts an offer onto your property, the realtor technically has to let you know of that offer. But you have to think about what is the realtor's agenda, because in most cases, realtors will have their best interests front of mind and not necessarily the homeowner. And that is something that I noticed. Now, I'm not saying all realtors, obviously. Really good realtors will always think about their client first and what's best for the client. But it would be naive to say that a realtor is not going to lean favorable to an offer where they can profit the most versus what's best for the homeowner and what's best for this specific situation based off the house that you're looking to sell. And you have to think about energy. So even though a realtor have to bring each offer to you, the way that they convey themselves and communicate on your behalf is something that you have to take account for. And when you sell privately, you don't necessarily have to worry about a third party speaking on your behalf and making decisions that could possibly not be favorable to you. And with that being said, having the ability to have direct communication with a buyer is something that makes selling privately favorable. Now, on the flip side of that, some homeowners may not have the time to deal with buyers and speak with buyers and have to communicate and work through every part of what goes into selling a property, and that's what makes selling with the agent even more attractive in certain situations, because you have someone doing that legwork for you. So do keep that in mind. If you do decide to sell your property privately, you're going to be the main person of contact. Or if you have a family member that's helping you, or a friend, they can help do some of that communication with you. But in one instance, it could be a positive, being able to communicate with buyers and do all the legwork yourself. But in other situations, it also could be a burden, because that time that realtor will be working for you, now you're the one responsible for putting that work in. Another reason why selling your property privately could be a good option for you would be the knowledge of the property itself. Now you're the owner. You know the situation better than anybody. You know how long it's been since certain things have been updated. You know more so about the area. You know about the history of the home. And those things can be very valuable to a buyer. And that you being able to communicate that directly could bring value to the sale of the property. Another great reason to sell your property privately would be to avoid the pressures that come with selling your property. You can kind of be involved and take your time through this process versus working on other people's timelines who are involved. You're working on your timeline, and that is going to keep the anxiety low when it comes to how you're maneuvering through the steps of what it takes to sell your property privately. And you don't have to feel that additional stress that comes with working with someone who personality may be different from yours, or the way that they like to maneuver through the sale of a property and their timeline, and you can kind of have more control over that aspect of the transaction. Now, those are just a few reasons that you may want to sell your property privately. And in this video, we're going to speak specifically about the marketing aspect. I'm going to go through quickly through some steps that it's going to take to sell your property privately, but this specific video is going to focus more so on the marketing piece. Now, if you're interested in going into detail about each step, let me know in the comments, and I may make a series where we go in depth, and I'll make an in-depth video of each step. But this video, we're going to go through some of the steps, but we're going to spend most time on the marketing. And I'm going to show you what I do to market my property privately, so that you can kind of see what is available to you and some options that you may have. So the first thing that I do before I ever list my property is know my numbers. So I usually research recent sales in the area, and I use different tools. Like I have an AI tool that I use now, where I could just, put in my property address that I'm looking to sell, and it'll generate three tiers of pricing depending on what type of options that I'm considering and the condition of my property. So I know exactly what my numbers are going in. If you're interested in getting that tool as well, you can go ahead and grab that in the description. That link is in the description. So that's available to you as a tool. The tool that I use, it is great. But knowing your numbers is important. I don't think I have to go into detail about why that's important. But if you do need more information, I do have a video where I break that down. And I'll make sure I link that somewhere so you can have easy access to that. Now, the second thing that I do before I ever list my property is I prepare. I do it. I prep my property for sale, and what that looks like is making sure that it's clean. I declutter it, make sure there's no junk around, and sometimes I may do like a minor um, not repairs, but I may paint a couple walls if I have paint laying around. I'll use just a white paint to kind of make the space as neutral and airy and opening and most as inviting as I can. Because what that does is when buyers come in, the least that they have to think about, the better. So when you make your property simple, things just run smoother that way. So those are some things that I like to do. And then obviously, first impressions matter. I don't, I won't say that enough, but in that same video, I talk about this too. So it's important for you to do this. And if you want to watch that video and kind of where I go more so in detail, you can go check that out. And then also get great photos. Even if you have to hire someone, most of us, all of us have smartphones. And the great thing about smartphones is they have really great cameras. So if you're not in a position to do that, and I do understand you probably want to save as much money as possible, as we all are, then you could just take some great photos yourself and um, make sure that you make the space look as beautiful and inviting as possible because you only get one chance to have a great first impression. So this is important because what I do see a lot is people really rushing the process, and then you have people just go in and take pictures of a junky place, a cluttered space, and I don't think we realize how much money it costs us just by, not having the patience to do things the right way. So that's extremely important. And I go through all of these steps in detail in, some of my past videos as well as that guide that I was telling you guys about. So go ahead and get that in the description. I show you photos and everything. I give you tips. Everything that we're talking about here, you can get it in the document in the description so you'll have it for your record. So as you're working through this stuff, you don't have to remember what I said. You'll have it right there in your hands to utilize. But yeah, if you can, go ahead and pay someone to get a couple great photos of your property. And then obviously, if that's something that you're not looking to do, then don't worry about it. Just snap some great photos yourself. And just having the space clean and declutter is going to make the biggest difference. Now, the third thing, have your marketing plan. Write a strong listing and make sure you post it on the top real estate websites and social media sites. Use eye-catching photos that you use from step 2, and then highlight the key features and things about your property that stands out, any repairs that you've done, any updates that you made, tell when you made them. If you're including any appliances, talk about that. If your property has things that's you know that makes it stand apart from the regular houses on the block, make sure you put that. You may be on a quarter lot with 1 acre. Make sure you let people know, hey, it has 1 acre. Most of the other homes around yours may only have a quarter acre. You may have a back sunroom or a sun porch, something like that. You may have a pool. You may have just updated your roof. You may have a 3-car garage. Whatever it may be, make sure you put as much details as you can in your description. That's going to be important because the more questions that you can answer for a potential buyer, that means the less that they're going to have to think about when wanting to make a decision if your property is going to be one that they're going to entertain. And then also when they reach out to you, they're not going to have to, flood you with a ton of questions because you're going to have a very detailed description that's going to lay out everything for them already, and you're not going to have to worry about it, and they're not going to have to worry about it. And then as far as when after you list your property, after you start marketing and you marketing your property, and you start getting interest and you start getting feedback, you're going to have an open house. Now, what works really well for me, I like to have one open house. Now, obviously, if that open house wasn't a success or something like that, I won't even say if it wasn't a success because that's not always the case. You may have to show your property 2 or 3 times before it sells, maybe even four, but make sure you're not showing it to one person at 1 o'clock and then a different person at 2 o'clock and then another person at 7 o'clock. And then you're meeting with someone the next day in the morning at 8 o'clock. Don't do that. That's the worst thing to do. What you want to do is have one open house. And if you have to have several, make sure that they're spaced out and have one a week until you sell. So have one open house on Sunday at 3 o'clock, and you stay at the property from 3 to 4, and you have everybody come at 3 o'clock. And if some people are late, they may come at 3:15, they may come at 3:30. You'll stay there for an hour and show as many people as possible. Now, the reason why I love to do that is because it's technically a strategy. With most of my properties, when I sell privately and I start putting them out there and they start getting traction, during my open houses, what you'll see is 5, 6, 7, 8 cars pulling in and out at the same time. So that makes the buyers see each other and they're passing each other. And that mentally, psychologically, that lets them know that there's other interests. So the serious buyers is not going to play around and drag things out, and they're not going to come with low offers, because if they're really interested and they really want the property, they're going to know, wow, this property has a lot of interest. Let me go ahead and get the offer in. And I love doing it that way. That has brought me a ton of success, having one open house and limiting, the number of times I'm meeting people. And then also, you're not wasting your time. If you're running around, you're meeting 6, 7 people, 8 people at different times, that's taking a lot of energy and time from you. And then that's going to eventually make you get frustrated, and you may even resent the entire process. I've seen that done plenty of times. But when you meet one time, you have everyone come, you're just there, you're just hanging out. If anyone has questions, you're there to answer it for them. But what I like even more is when, it's important to not let one buyer take you away. So that's important to remember. So if there is buyers there and they have questions, if it's a quick question, go ahead and answer it for them. But anything in detail or lengthy, just let them know, hey, after you view, and I tell them this when they first come. I said, go ahead, walk around, check out the property. I don't walk around with them. I don't do that. I let them all go in, and because you got to understand, buyers are all looking for different things. Some may go right to the basement. Some may go to the attic. Some's going to the kitchen. Some's going to the bedrooms. Don't have a mindset where that you're in fear, or you're worried, or you're needing to control the aspect and see what they're doing and see what they're looking like. Be around, still linger around and be available if people have questions, but don't feel the need to babysit them and follow them around the property as if you're working for them. Make it very, you know, make it very casual. Detach from it. Don't seem so anxious. Don't give that desperate, anxious energy. Just be around, kind of hanging out on the front porch, hanging out in the living room, just chilling. No big deal. Nothing's going on. But make sure you're not letting following anyone around, and also not letting any buyers consume you as if you're working for them, and they have every step they make, they have another question for you. Like, don't do that. When they come, let them know, hey, if you have any questions, no, I'm sorry, this is what you do. When they come, you say, go ahead, take a look, check the property out. If you have any questions, let me know at the end. And I even like to say, give me a call. If you want to put an offer in, just give me a call later. And then the serious people will call you with their offer later. And if they have questions, they can ask you at that time. Don't let anyone hold you up at the property asking you a ton of questions. And because another thing that does is that sparks another buyer's mind. And now they're, you know, thinking about something that this buyer asked, which could be a good thing, but it also could just take a lot of time and energy away from you, and it could just make people overthink the situation, and you don't want that. You want each buyer to stay with their own mind and their own perspective, and not them kind of like clicking up together against you to kind of make you have to perform for them. Like, don't do that. So just make it very casual, straightforward, make the atmosphere welcoming, and just make the space inviting, and you've already done your work up until this point. So by the time the open house comes, you're good. Now let's talk about some places where you're going to want to market. You're going to want to market on websites like Zillow, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and Facebook groups. The more eyes that you have on your listing, the better chance you have to attract a serious offer from a buyer. So you're going to want to post on as many of these sites as you can. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep an influx of interest, coming into you. And you're going to be able to communicate to get these people to check out your property. A couple more places that you can also market, even offline, is going to be a for sale by owner sign, putting that in your yard, putting up bandit signs. I have Facebook group on here twice. There was another one that I should have updated, that I kind of dropped the ball on. So that's my bad. When I think about what that one was, I'll try to put it in the comments or something like that. And then also meetups. Going to your local meetups and meeting other investors in the area, meeting other even realtors. A realtor can help you, if not list your property. They may, have a buyer that they know that buys properties similar to yours in that area that they could potentially help you with. So don't write off that possibility as well. Here is an example of a for sale by owner sign, and you'll just put it in your yard and put your phone number right here. It's kind of straightforward. And then this is an example of a bandit sign. You're going to want to create one similar to, you're going to want to create one similar to this one. And you're going to pretty much just say, how many bedrooms, how many bath you got, whatever your price is, cash, if you're looking for cash, if you're open to doing some type of financing, then you can put that there and then put your phone number there, or something similar to this, or even like something like this is pretty funny because you can kind of customize these, and this will just get a lot of attention. Obviously, you're not desperate to sell, but if people think that you are, they may think they can get a great deal from you and reach out to you and want to check out your property. So that's a great marketing tool that you can use when you if you put up a bandit sign. Now moving on to some photos. We discussed photos earlier, what type of photos to take. and post on your listings, these are some examples of photos that you don't want to take. Photos that's just not, that doesn't cover the full room well. You're going to want to keep from doing that. Photos that has clutter and just garbage and trash all around, like, you're not going to want this. This is going to scare buyers away. Buyers are not going to want to put offers in on properties like these that's presented in these ways. And if they do, they're going to come with really low ball offers right off the rip. And that's why I mentioned earlier, getting good photos and prepping your property properly is essential, because you can lose thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars if you don't present your property in a way that screams value. This property screams desperate, fire sale. You can obviously tell whoever owns this property is in a distressful situation, and distress screams desperate. And you may be in a distressed situation, but no one has to know. No one has to know what you're going through. You don't have to scream desperate. And sometimes we let the emotions of what we're going through, and the thoughts and the mental things that we're going through, put us in situations where we're just eager and anxious to get the money and sell the property, and we present in ways like this, and that is going to be it's going to hurt us in the long run. It's not going to help. So don't be this seller, even if you're in a situation where you need to sell quickly. Here's a similar property, and I wanted to give an example that was kind of similar, because I don't want you to think that your property has to be pretty and it has to look nice for you to present it well. It doesn't. You just want it to be clean. You want people to be able to see what's going on in the space. You want it to be bright. You want it to be airy. You want to get as much coverage of the room as you possibly can. So you want to take pictures similar to this one. Very great lightning. You know, clean spaces, no garbage around, no junk, things like this. These are the type of photos that you're going to want to take. As far as the description in your listing, this is some descriptions that you're going to want to use. You're going to want, like I mentioned earlier, to put as much information as you can. Let the potential buyer know everything that's going on. Fixer upper opportunity, 4 bed, 2.5 bath. They're offering seller financing. That's available. That's going to attract a lot more buyers. They're calling a specific buyer. If you're looking for a specific type of buyer, call them out. Let them know that you're interested in them. Okay? Also, let them know any key highlights about your property. Excellent opportunity to add value through renovations. Repairs can be financed, making it easier to get started right away. Spacious layout. They're talking a little bit about the neighborhood. Just give as much information as you can. Give as much information about the property. The more the merrier. Let them know everything that you need them to know. Don't feel the need to try to have to keep things from people. Here's another one. Charming 3 bed, 1 bath. Put the square footage. Put the address. I'm when it comes to putting the address, certain sites I will, certain sites I won't. So I'm not going to say you have to put the address, just put the area, okay? But some sites you're going to want to put the address, some you're not. But if you're not putting the address, just put the area so they can get an idea of where the property is located. Let them know what's going on. Fireplace, the kitchen, the bathroom, everything was recently updated. They updated the floors, the fixtures. Be specific. It's situated just steps from a bus stop. It's near the rapid station. That's cool, but also just remember to keep it focused on the property, but you can drop in a little bit about the area too. That's always good. That can't hurt. If it's occupied with a tenant, let them know it's currently tenant occupied. They're on a month to month lease each month. The property offers immediate rental income, and long term investment. There's no HOA fees, there's no maintenance fees. Let them know. It's an excellent opportunity for investors. It's a cozy home, it's in a prime location. Buyers like to see that. Right here, they have their telephone number listed. Similar to the address, I personally will put my phone number on every listing. So if you don't want someone to have your cell phone, maybe you can make a secondary phone number. Maybe you have a secondary phone number, or you can make like a Google Voice phone number account. So anytime that phone rings, you know it's specifically about your property. That's what I would do. I would set up a secondary phone line, and I would post that phone number in every one of my listing descriptions. So they can call me quickly. If you're working, if you're busy and you prefer that they text you, put that in there as well. Unavailable to answer. Shoot me a text if you're interested. I'll get back with you. Just be communicative. Let them know what's going on as much in detail as you can. This is a Facebook ad, and I try to show examples. I'm sorry, not a Facebook ad, it's a Facebook post in the marketplace. I try to show an example of every site that I recommended earlier, so you can kind of see the differences in their post. This one is for Facebook Marketplace. As you can see, you can put the property address. They put the price right here, and then they have the address here. Like Facebook Marketplace is one of those places that if you post, they ask for the address, so you're probably going to want to put your address there. And then you could put the bed and bath here, square feet here, air, the property details, if it has AC, what type of heating, if it's a laundry, any garage, anything like that. It kind of shows where the property is located here on the map so they can know the location. And then just all of the details of the property right here. You could just put seller financing only. So they're doing seller financing only, no bank qualifications needed. And they're saying no investors. So they don't want investors buying this property. They want someone who's going to live in this property long term. And like I stated, tell them what you want. If you want a specific type of situation, if you're open to something that most people may not be open to, state that. And it may not be in extreme details up front because you may not know, you may be open, but put that out there. Brick home, completely renovated, carpet, bedrooms, repairs. They're putting everything right here. The appraisal, they telling how much they want down. They want 10% down, closing cost, how much it'll be each month. They're putting all of that there. So there's endless possibilities with what you can do. Just make sure you know and you're clear about that, and you make sure that your description communicates that to the buyers as they're looking at your postings. And even right here, I missed this. You see, they have the open house date from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So they'll be there for a long time. They'll be there for 4 hours. But like I mentioned earlier, you kind of want to just do one block of time. You don't want to have, you don't want to be meeting every buyer there when they say a time is good for them. Like you don't want to speak to people and then have them pick a time. And they're saying, "Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing your property. Are you available Thursday at 5?" And you're like, let me take a look. Well, I get off at 6. I can meet you there at 6:30." And they're like, "Yeah." Like you don't want to do that. Do open houses. Open houses are effective. They're effective for a reason. So make sure you're doing open houses. Now, that's all I have for this video. I hope you received a ton of value from it. And I hope you were able to receive a bit of insight more so about how to have success when privately selling your property. And if you look in the description, as I mentioned earlier, I have resources available for you. If you want to make this process a bit seamless, if you just want the information there for you as you're going through the steps, I have everything there for you. And then also, with the buyer's market being the way that it is, you're going to want to know and learn how to sell your property for top dollar, regardless of what the condition is. And with that being said, I just created a new book. It's an ebook. It's called The Max Profit Method, and three it's going to show you a proven 3-step method that I use to sell my properties for what they're really worth, regardless of what the economy is doing. So with this buyer's market that we're in now, with all the lowball offers, with all the things that's coming with wanting to sell your property in this type of market, if you're someone who's looking to get the most out of your property, regardless of what it looks like, the condition, the area, and all of these things, this is going to be a book that you're going to have in your tool belt. And right now, for the month of June and July, I'm going to be giving it away for free to all of my viewers. So go ahead and download that book right now, free for the month of June, free for the month of July, only to my viewers. And obviously, after the month of July, it will be a price on it. It's going to cost. So take advantage of getting that information right now while you can. So it was great speaking with you. Enjoy doing this video, talking about these breakdowns. Until the next video, be sure to be good, be great, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.